building at the corner of 11th and Maple was one that most people passed without ever noticing. Cracked paint flaked off its sides like old bark, and the windows were fogged not by design, but by decades of missed repairs. On the third floor, in a space no larger than a hotel's utility closet, lived a mother and her twin sons, Liam and Noah. Their father had disappeared when the twins were only 3, leaving behind nothing but an empty drawer and a name on a birth certificate. Their mother, Elena, worked as a hotel cleaner, ironic, perhaps, because while she dusted gold-trimmed mirrors and fluffed silk duvets for the rich, her sons curled up each night on the hard floor of their tiny room. The only light they knew came from a flickering bulb and the stories their mother whispered before bed. "El lujo no es para nosotros," she said once. "Luxury is not for us." But Liam, always the quieter one, would sketch in the dimness. He'd draw hotel lobbies he had never seen, marble halls with grand staircases, chandeliers like frozen fireworks. Noah, sitting beside him, would color the sketches in with broken crayons they'd collected from school trash bins. "Someday," Liam whispered, "people will walk into a lobby we design, and they'll stop, just to feel it." "You'll design it," Noah replied. "I'll make sure they see it." It wasn't just a dream, it was a pact. They were 10, and the world hadn't even begun trying to break them yet. Winter in the city had a cruel way of sneaking into the bones, especially for those without thick walls or thick blankets. The small heater in their room coughed more than it breathed. And some nights, the cold bit so sharply that Liam and Noah would press their backs together just to stay warm. Their mother gave them her only coat, which they took turns using like a shared tent, laughing as they tried to fit under it like 2 sardines in a soup can, but laughter didn't always come easily. At school, other kids talked about their Netflix shows and summer camps. Liam and Noah talked about insulation and roof patches, because that's what they knew. They smelled like detergent from their mother's hotel shifts and walked to school with soles taped to keep their shoes from splitting. Noah got into fights more often than teachers could count, not because he was angry, but because he couldn't bear the way they sneered at Liam's hand-me-downs or tore up his drawings. "You're the artist," Noah would growl, lip bleeding, "and I'm the wall you draw on. Let them try and touch you again." They spent their weekends scavenging scraps. Old magazines became vision boards. Discarded cardboard boxes turned into miniature models. They built mock hotel rooms in the corner of their apartment, stacking books as headboards and folding towels like their mother had taught them to mimic the 5-star suites she cleaned. Elna found them one night like that. Noah asleep on a sofa made of pillows. Liam sketching a faux marble sink on a cereal box, her eyes filled with quiet water. "Why do you boys work so hard on what you'll never have?" she asked, more to herself than to them. Noah opened one eye. "We're not working to have it, we're working to create it." That was the first night she cried without hiding, and it was also the first night Liam whispered a promise into the dark. "We'll build something so beautiful. Mama, one day you'll walk in, and they'll stand up when you do." It happened in the middle of January. Just after midnight, Elena had worked a double shift and was still in her uniform, fast asleep on a chair with her arms crossed like she was holding something invisible. Liam and Noah were curled up on their usual mats, a blanket pulled to their chins, when the smell hit first. Sharp, bitter, unmistakable. Smoke. Noah bolted upright first, then Liam. The smell wasn't from the street below. It was here. Their neighbor's space heater had sparked and caught onto a curtain. Flames danced like angry ghosts through the walls. The crackle came next. Then the panic, the shouts, the banging, the thud of someone's foot against a locked door. Noah dragged their mother to the door, coughing. Liam grabbed her purse, their only ID, and rent money inside. The smoke was thick, blinding, and suffocating. Down the stairwell they ran, barefoot on concrete, past neighbors crying, sirens rising. Outside, in the freezing street, they watched their home burn, their mats, their sketches, their cardboard models, all of it gone in minutes. Elena collapsed into herself, arms around her sons, trembling, not just from the cold, from loss, from shame. They were taken to a temporary shelter that night. Given foil blankets and soup too salty to swallow, Noah stared at the wall, fists clenched. Liam stared at his hands, empty for the first time in years. But it wasn't despair that filled them. It was something more dangerous, resolve. Maybe the universe just cleared space for something new. Liam whispered in the dark. Noah looked over. Then let's make it count. And the next morning, while most families were still waiting for the Red Cross paperwork, the twins were already at the city library, printing out scholarship forms, design contests, and community program flyers. Ashes weren't the end. Sometimes, they were the blueprint. The shelter cafeteria was always cold, even when the heaters buzzed. The twins sat side by side at a table near the window, sharing a single notebook where Liam had started sketching again. Just lines at first, then shapes, then spaces. Noah watched the room more than the page. He noticed things, like how people held their spoons like they were afraid of spilling what little they had, or how the volunteers smiled with their mouths but rarely with their eyes. One afternoon, a woman walked in, wrapped in a long gray scarf, with snow melting on her coat shoulders. She didn't look like the other volunteers. She moved differently, purposefully, observantly. Her name was Miss Carver. She stopped by their table, eyes landing on Liam's notebook. What's this? Liam instinctively tried to close it, but she gently placed a hand over the cover. I asked because I care, she said. He hesitated, then opened it. She flipped through page after page, some smudged, some rain-stained, but all filled with raw, honest design. Hotel lobbies with curved wooden beams like tree branches. Rooms are shaped around light and quiet. A bed drawn to look like it was floating. She looked up. Who taught you to see space like this? No one, Liam replied. Noah added, he's always drawn what we didn't have. Miss Carver smiled. Not the kind that pities, but the kind that recognizes. I run a summer program, interior design and architecture. It's competitive, but we've got a slot left. I'd like to recommend you. They stared. What's the catch? Noah asked. No catch. Just show up and bring that notebook. Elena cried when she heard, not because it was charity, but because for the first time, someone didn't just see her sons as survivors. They saw them as creators. That summer, Liam entered rooms filled with teenagers wearing designer sneakers and carrying iPads. He came with borrowed clothes and his same worn-out sketchbook. But when the assignment came to design a small boutique hotel inspired by home, he turned their old apartment into a sanctuary. He recreated the corner they used to sleep in, only now with sunlight coming through sheer curtains, a bed made of soft walnut wood, and ceilings high enough to hold silence and hope. The instructors didn't speak for a long time when he presented. One finally whispered, "This isn't a hotel room, it's a prayer." The night before their first hotel stay, Noah couldn't sleep, not because the bed was uncomfortable, it was perfect, but because he didn't know how to lie still in comfort. For years, stillness had meant cold, stillness had meant hunger. But now, as he stared up at the soft glow of a ceiling light hidden behind a curve of frosted glass, his chest felt tight with something new. Disbelief. Liam was already sitting at the writing desk, running his fingers along the brass inlay. See this corner joint? He said quietly. It's seamless, like it was poured, not built. Noah grinned, rubbing his bare feet against the plush carpet. Bet you're already redesigning it in your head. I can't help it. Liam smiled. It's not about making it better. It's about understanding how they did it. So one day, we can do it our way. The hotel they were staying in wasn't random. Mrs. Carver had booked them one complimentary night after the summer program. Her way of saying, now feel what you've been designing all this time. They didn't take photos. They didn't jump on the beds or raid the minibar. They walked every inch of that room like it was sacred. And then quietly, they lay on the bed. side by side, just like old times. But now, no roof leak, no thin mat beneath their backs, no shivering. For a few minutes, they said nothing. Then Noah whispered, "It feels wrong, doesn't it? That we're in this softness when mom's still working a night shift somewhere?" Liam nodded. "It does, but it also reminds me why we're doing this." So they got up, opened their notebooks, and sketched. They didn't sketch chandeliers or velvet lounges this time. They sketched warmth, accessibility, dignity, beauty without pretension. By sunrise, Liam had the first draft of a concept called Reclaim, a line of luxury hotel rooms inspired by the spaces forgotten people dream of, for single mothers, for shelter survivors, for those who once looked at elegance from the sidewalk. And that, though they didn't know it yet, was the first page of a portfolio that would change everything. 3 years later, they walked into their first official client meeting, still in secondhand blazers, still holding the same sketchbooks. Liam had graduated from a state design college on a full scholarship. Noah had studied marketing and business, taking side gigs at cafes, painting houses, anything to keep them afloat while pushing Liam's vision forward. The client was a wealthy hotel investor named Preston Vale. He was known for brutal honesty and gold cufflinks shaped like lions. He owned 9 boutique hotels and was launching his 10th, an eco-luxury resort in Colorado. "You've got 20 minutes, he said, flipping through their portfolio without making eye contact. "Impress me." Liam presented first, his voice steady but quiet. He showed renderings inspired by silence, balance, and light. Noah followed with a plan for immersive branding. "Not just selling sleep, but stories," he said. Preston leaned back, then chuckled. "You two are cute." Noah blinked. "Excuse me?" Preston tapped their sketches. "You think you can come from the gutter and tell me how to make people pay $800 a night to sleep on organic sheets? You don't look like people who know luxury." Liam said nothing, but Noah leaned forward, eyes locked. "You're right. We don't look like it. We live the opposite of it. That's why we know what people feel the moment they enter a room. We don't design to impress. We design to restore." Preston raised an eyebrow, amused. "You'll learn," he said, "but not on my dime." He waved them off with a flick of his hand, and just like that, they were out. Liam stayed quiet on the way home, jaw clenched. Noah, furious, started to rip their mock-ups in half. But Liam stopped him. "Let him laugh," he said softly. "He won't be the last, but one day, he'll walk into a lobby we built, and he'll stop, just like we dreamed." That night, they went back to their tiny apartment and worked till dawn, not out of anger, out of clarity. Because failure didn't mean the dream was broken. It meant the dream just needed stronger walls. Their break didn't come from a big name. It came from a cafe owner named Margot. She ran a tiny 5-room guest house above her coffee shop in Asheville, North Carolina. The rooms were clean, functional, and entirely forgettable. She wanted to do something different, something soulful. A friend of hers, a volunteer from Missouri's Carver's old program, mentioned 2 twins who designed spaces that made people feel something. Margot called them. She couldn't pay much, but she could give them full creative freedom. It was all they needed. They arrived with nothing but 2 backpacks, a laptop, and rolls of butcher paper. For 3 weeks, they slept on mattresses on the floor, again, but this time by choice. In the very rooms they would transform, they watched how light moved through the windows. They listened to the creaks in the old floorboards. They asked Margot about her childhood, her favorite colors, and her fears. They asked guests what made them feel safe, heard, remembered. Then they built room 3. They stripped it down and rebuilt it from the soul up. Reclaimed wood from an old chapel became the bed frame. A window seat was carved into the east wall, with shelves that held stories from local writers. The headboard was stitched with a quote from Margot's late grandmother. "You deserve to rest where you feel seen." They didn't just decorate the room, they gave it a voice, Margot posted a photo of it on Instagram, not expecting much, but within a week, the post had 1 million views. Someone captioned it, "Not a hotel room, a home for your tired heart." Travel bloggers came. Influencers cried in the sunlight on the window seat. A woman proposed to her girlfriend there. Someone left a note under the pillow that read, "I checked in thinking I was just tired. I checked out healed." And just like that, offers started pouring in. Hotels, retreats, galleries, even wellness clinics. But the twins didn't say yes to all. They said yes only to the ones who understood. Because this wasn't about building a business. It was about building the world they once longed to sleep in. 3 years after that first viral room, Liam and Noah were invited to present at the International Design and Hospitality Expo in New York. It was the kind of event where suits cost more than some people's monthly rent, where design firms boasted 10-figure portfolios and wore their success like silk armor. The twins arrived quietly, as they always had. No entourage, no fanfare, just their mother. Elena had never flown before. She clutched her boarding pass the whole flight like it was a fragile secret. When they arrived at the hotel hosting the expo, a 5-star tower with glass walls and gold elevators, she whispered, "Is this real?" Liam smiled. "It's about to be." The expo hall was massive. Spotlights everywhere. Screens 10 feet tall. Designers presented with rehearsed charm, flaunting minimalism as if it were invented last Tuesday. Then came the twins. Their booth had no flashing banners, just a single photo of a small room. Sunlight spilling over a bed framed in reclaimed wood. A plaque beneath it read, "Room 3, Asheville, made with stories." Noah stepped up first. "We grew up sleeping on mats," he said. "Our mother cleaned places like this. We never saw luxury as something to chase, but something to redefine." Liam continued, "Design is not about ego, it's about emotion. And emotion needs memory, humility, and heart." Then, as the audience leaned in, they pointed toward the back of the hall. "Elena," Liam said, voice shaking slightly, "is the reason we believe every human deserves a space that whispers, 'You belong here.'" A spotlight turned. She was standing there, in a soft blue dress that the boys had saved up to buy her. Her hands clutched a tissue. Her eyes were wide, and one by one, people began to rise. Designers, architects, investors, all stood. Some clapped, some wiped tears. And in that moment, Elena, who had once hidden her face in the hotel staff exit, stood in a room that now saw her fully, not as a cleaner, but as the mother of creators. When the applause finally settled, she walked to the stage. Her sons each took one of her hands. She didn't say anything. She just looked up at the ceiling, smooth, glowing, full of light, then closed her eyes and smiled. After the expo, the offers became overwhelming. Luxury brands, global hotel chains, even a Netflix docu-series proposal. But the twins didn't rush. They sat on the rooftop of their modest studio apartment, the same one they still lived in, and made a list, not of clients, but of questions. Does this project serve dignity? Would Mama be proud to sleep there? Is this for people or praise? With those questions as their compass, they founded their firm, Mira Forma, Latin for shape with wonder. Its mission? To design spaces where no one feels like a guest in their own life. Their signature wasn't in materials or color palettes. It was about how people felt inside their rooms. One hotel they designed in New Orleans had a reading nook built with the same dimensions as the corner where they used to sleep as boys. Another, in Seattle, featured a quiet wall where guests could write anonymous notes of things they forgave themselves for. And the twins made sure those messages were softly backlit in the evenings, like silent prayers. They began hosting workshops for teens in shelters, bringing sketch pads and showing them how lines can become doors. This is not charity, Noah would say. This is succession. And Liam, he never stopped drawing by hand. Even when the firm grew to 30 employees, he still sketched on napkins, receipts, even the backs of menus, because that's how it started. One night, years later, Elena visited one of their newest hotels. This time, not as a guest, as the featured speaker. She stood beneath the high ceilings of a sunlit conference hall they had designed just for her. "My sons," she said in a soft voice, "used to whisper dreams under roofs that leaked, but they never let that drip into their hope. They didn't want to escape poverty. They wanted to transform it into beauty." And then she looked out into the crowd. "So when you sleep in one of their rooms, know this: it wasn't built to impress you, it was built to hold you." If this story found a place in your heart, if it reminded you that beauty can rise from broken floorboards and that love can be layered into architecture, then maybe you'll carry it with you. Maybe you'll look at the next room you enter and ask, does this space honor someone's story? And if you're someone still sleeping on the floor, don't lower your dreams, raise your ceiling for more stories like this about the unseen, the unbroken, the quietly extraordinary. Subscribe to our channel. There's a place here for you. Always.